to episode 5 of the Silver Screen Scarehouse. I'm your host, Linnie, and with me is my darling co-host, Lisa.
Hi.
When you come to the Scarehouse, we'll be reviewing 3 movies. We may not always agree, but as lifelong film fanatics, you'll get honest opinions from 2 different sides of the aisle, followed by an old-fashioned knives up, knives down final rating. This week, Lisa and I will be chatting about A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which is currently available VOD and soon on Netflix, as well as Found and Enter Nowhere, both of which are available on DVD and Hulu+. So let's kick things off with A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. In the Iranian ghost town of Bad City, a place that reeks of death and loneliness, the townspeople are unaware that they are being stalked by a lonesome vampire. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is, I think, the first Iranian vampire western. I don't think there's another one. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, people. But Lisa, what did you think? Go for it.
I think it's pretty. But I think it's pretty because it's in black and white, but it's not black and white because it's amazing. I feel like sometimes people do things in black and white, and that immediately puts it into the thoughtful genre category.
True.
It was just black and white. It's not like it was Virgin Spring or anything. I don't know. I love the look of the vampire. She was very cool. Like, I want to be her friend. I kind of liked how you couldn't pin down the time period. But nothing really happens, and I felt like it was this really awful thing that would happen if Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man and Lost in Translation, if like they had a baby, it's this movie.
Right.
And so nothing was happening, but I wasn't getting anything out of the nothing either, except for that kid has amazing hair.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I will readily admit I fell asleep 4 times. The first time I put it on, and I finally had to give up and finish it the next day. Watching it right before I went to sleep was probably my fault. That was a bad idea on my part. It like you said, it's gorgeous. It is a really beautifully shot film. I feel like this is a film that's going to be taught in film classes in the future because it is a beautiful selection of scenes that are done really well, but I don't necessarily feel like they added up to something that was spectacular. I guess I went into it wanting a little bit more, but I think that's also, I don't know, I think that's putting a lot on the director, Anna Lily Amirpour. I'm pretty sure that was her first full-length feature. And I think because there are so few women directing in horror, I think everybody is kind of putting all these expectations on her. But it was her first feature, and I think for a first feature, it's amazing. I mean, a lot of people have terrible first films, and she certainly did not have that. But it's not Cronenberg making Shivers his first time out. It's really well done. It's really thoughtful. I think she made it into a comic book. I think it's probably a beautiful comic book. I'm really interested in seeing that. But yeah, I kind of felt the same way. It just wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be.
Well, yeah, it was her first full feature, and it's pretty, and I think, now I know you're going to disagree with this statement, but I think I expected more from it because it's from Spectre Vision, which is Elijah Wood's company.
My photophobia does not cross over into his production company.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's fair if it does.
It's just looking at him and his big bug eyes.
Oh, he's so cute. Maybe I expected too much, especially because if you read the reviews, people like lose their mind over how much they love this movie. And I guess I just couldn't stop thinking about Lost in Translation, even all the way down to the soundtrack and the way people were moving and the way they were looking at one another. There was no dialogue, but I don't know, and it was no Lost in Translation. Like, if Bill Murray had been in it, maybe I would have been happy. It was pretty. Like, I can get pretty anywhere.
There wasn't, I remember specifically, an extended scene where neither of them are looking at each other. And it was a solid 5 minutes of her just turning around really insanely slowly. And it got to a point where I was like, oh my God, okay. Yes, please, turn all the way around. I feel like this is taking forever. And it's that line where, okay, you know, it would have been really beautiful if you'd stopped it at 2.5 minutes, but then 5 minutes, you're like, okay, honey, this is great. Move on. More story, please. It's like it's beautiful. Like, we keep saying that because it is, and it's spectacular to look at. And I think from a cinematography standpoint, there's a lot to learn from it. But there's also a lot to be learned from how to pace it. And it makes me more excited to see her next film because I feel like she's probably learned more in the process of becoming a filmmaker from making that movie. So I can't say I loved it, but I think it's an important movie, and I thoroughly get why people love it. So this is like you were with It Follows. I kind of feel the same way. Like, it's not my favorite, but I think people should see it to just experience it and see how beautiful it is and see her for what she's going to become as she keeps making movies.
I can see that.
So what was your knife rating on A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night?
Knife down, yo. It's a Sofia Coppola movie without Bill Murray, without Stephen Dorff, without, what is his name? The cute little boy from Penny Dreadful now. It was lacking something, and I started getting bored.
I give it...
Long explanation, y'all. Knife down.
That's fair. I give it a knife up because I think people should see it. I think it's beautiful. But if you get bored, don't feel bad. Other people did too. So next up, Lisa.
Okay. Found. This is about a horror-obsessed boy who discovers his older brother is a serial killer. Dun, dun, dun. This has a giant boatload of potential, and out of curiosity, I have read quite a few reviews, and most of them are glowing. So, you know, Linnie, you subjected me to this, so you go.
Oh, man. I kind of feel the same way. Like, the potential was there for something really interesting and really deep in the relationship between the little boy and his brother and this budding serial killer that he's becoming. And then in the middle of the movie, there is this movie within a movie of this headless guy. And it's like somebody said to the filmmakers, okay, guys, this movie's too smart. It's too smart. You need gore. You need as much senseless gore as you can just throw at this movie as humanly possible. We want as much gore as you can come up with. And these guys came up with every disgusting, depraved, awful thing that you can do to the female body and squeezed it into this film within a film. So you get breasts getting cut off, and then the serial killer with no face basically breastfeeding off the blood from the cut off boob, and you get a girl getting skull fucked, and it's just one disgusting thing after another, and it served absolutely no point whatsoever. It was not remotely relevant to the plot. They could have implied that this movie inspired the boy to become what he became. I'm kind of going to get ranty here for a minute. But the problem there is that then they are just feeding into the argument that people have against horror films, which is people that are serial killers become serial killers by watching horror films. So by adding in this ridiculously disgusting, cheesy-ass horror film within the movie, they've basically gone and supported the argument against horror films. So this movie that started off as something interesting for me became this massive letdown for the sake of really disgusting gore. And I fought to keep it on after it went past the first headless scene. I mean, it was just disgusting and unnecessary, and I got really angry. And I'm sorry I didn't warn you, but I wanted you to go in without any preconceived notions.
Oh, no, that's perfect. Yeah, are you still ranting?
No, you go ahead. I'm fine.
I'm going to try to keep this as coherent as possible. So, yeah, it starts out wonderful with this idea of finding out that your brother is a serial killer. And this child, rather than freaking out by finding a decapitated head, he's very intrigued by it. And being the person I am, I understood that reaction. I'd probably keep going in every day to see if there's a new head as well. It's also valid to point out that most of the heads were from African-American women. There's some sort of weird underlying racial tone that I couldn't quite figure out what had to do with anything. And I felt like they were trying to make the time period like 90s because they had a popcorn, horror movie poster.
Right.
And the kid goes to a video store and he's looking at the VHS covers of horror movies, and I think we all have that fond memory of just staring at all the covers. So if you have this time period where you go rent VHS tapes and you love the movie Popcorn, when I am subjected to the movie within a movie, it's quite obviously a digital film with crappy FX. And I think the FX were meant to be crappy, but it completely ruins the entire time setting. And the movie is so stupid. Headless is so stupid. And clearly whoever wrote it has a problem with needing to cut women's heads off and then skull fuck them. Not, and I think there's a time and a place for skull fucking a decapitated head. But it is rare that it's necessary or works. This was not the time nor the place. It was stupid. I actually started getting the giggles by the time he started fucking the last one because he had just like bathed himself in her blood from her neck, and then he got caught skull fucking this woman's head, and that is just dumb what I just said. And he takes a spoon and eats her eyes, and I refuse to believe that what's in her eyes looks like milk when you're eating it. And everything about it was so stupid. And they lost me, because like you said, there's that question. It was like that high fidelity question, about do you listen to pop music because you're depressed, or are you depressed because you listen to pop music? So, Linnie, do you and I watch horror movies because we're a killer, or will we become killers because we watch them too much? And that's I think that's a valid and interesting question, but then they didn't answer it.
Right.
I didn't think, because the little boy, and I have to admit the boy, his name's Gavin, he's the only good actor in this entire piece of shit.
Yeah, he was really good.
He was a lovely, lovely young actor. And I think that he was just trying to process what was around him. I don't think he was interested to the point of becoming a killer.
Right.
And I felt like they didn't give a reason for the brother being nuts, so he just was.
Yeah, I think they wasted so much time on that shitty movie within the movie that there were really awesome potential moments that were just completely left unexplored. And this is what really scares me, is that long before I knew anything about this movie, I remember seeing people getting really excited online because they were going to make a movie of Headless, the movie within Found. And I didn't know anything about either of these movies now. And then I started, as I was watching this movie, thinking back, who are these people? Who are these people that are so excited over getting a full-length movie featuring a guy that eats eyeballs and skull fucks women? Like, who? No, I'm sorry. Again, just like last week, if you are somebody that likes Smiley, if you were somebody that liked Headless, I probably have nothing to talk to you about.
I'm very intrigued, but I just found out that Headless is a full feature film, and it was a Kickstarter, so yes, people wanted it so badly, they paid for it.
Oh my God.
I'm really interested to see what people think about it and why they needed it, because, unless your name is Patrick Bateman, I don't know why you want to watch that movie, and, Patrick Bateman is, well, we're not going to go there.
There's a basis. That's the difference, though. That is the distinct difference between movies like American Psycho and movies, potentially, I would imagine, like this Headless movie. Obviously, I haven't seen it. I'm just going off what I saw in Found. But American Psycho, there's subtext. There's something else deeper going on. You're kind of lost in this alternate world. You know what's spawning this particular behavior by this character. With Headless, it's just some guy in a stupid mask skull fucking a girl.
Yeah, many complex things. And Headless was just like somebody working out their sexual frustrations. And I don't need to see that.
Right. And I like you said, I think you said it on Twitter, I am over this whole cutting women's breasts off thing.
When did this become a thing? What is somebody? I don't even care. You can be anonymous. Somebody explain to me why you need to cut women's breasts off. I don't. Of all the things I cannot wrap my brain around. Somebody, please tell me.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly new phenomenon too. I don't remember seeing this in a lot of older horror films. It's like somebody thought, well, here's the one thing nobody's done, so let's start doing it all the time. That will really teach them a lesson.
Everybody does it.
It's insane. And it's disgusting, and it's unnecessary. I mean, you don't see penises getting chopped off with as much abandon as you do breasts now. Somebody needs to even out the score again. Like,
yeah, I don't want everybody like breasts. Why are y'all cutting them off?
Exactly. That kind of defeats the purpose of seeing boobies in a movie. Come on.
Oh, sure it does.
What's the point? And then there are none left. People, you're ruining your own movies. Think about it.
I didn't even think about that.
I don't know, man. This movie was just brutal. I struggled, and I struggled with the message of it. I struggled with this terrible movie within a movie, and I really wanted more from it. That's what always bothers me when I watch movies like this, is that I feel like there's so much potential for something really important to be said about not just horror films, but about there was this real psychological impact of the relationship between the two brothers, and what it meant for him to be killing all these other people, but protecting his little brother. And there was so much there. And then, screw it. Let's just make really gory movie within a movie shit. And people will love that. That'll make us some money. Like, what? Ugh.
I wonder if the novella is a more compact story, because it is based on a short story.
I know. I saw that.
Yeah, there's just so much that could have been done correctly, and it was long. It was really long. I don't know why this movie was so long.
Because they devoted 25 minutes to Headless.
And that was an awful movie.
Yeah. I am not brave enough to watch a feature-length Headless movie. And I don't even want to know how much money it made. If somebody tells me, I will lose my shit. Nobody tell me. I don't want to know.
I might have to watch that movie.
That's on you. You can review it for the Horror Honeys, because I'm never watching that movie.
This movie has great potential. So while I don't understand the amount of glowing reviews it gets, I appreciate what they tried to do, and I think it was a waste of this young man to muck him up in all of this. And the last 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes reminded me of another film that is exceptionally excruciating to sit through, but it at least had a reasoning behind it. This to me had no reason. It was just gross. And then the last scene is like, well, all right.
Oh, yeah. I guess I forgot and blocked that out. Yeah. It's just it's one of those movies that just makes you feel like shit when it's over. And if you're somebody that loves it, again, don't tell me why. I don't want to know.
So, this is sounding like some knives down.
Yeah, 2 of them. 2 big old knives down. If I had the energy to put graphics of skull fucking on, it would be 2 skull fucked skulls down.
Yeah, I would skull fuck this movie.
Yes. There we go. That pretty much adequately conveys our hatred for it. All right, enough of that. Moving on to a 2011 mystery/thriller called Enter Nowhere, starring Sarah Paxton and Scott Eastwood, who's currently starring in a Nicholas Sparks movie. Good for him. 3 strangers arrive one by one at a mysterious cabin in the middle of nowhere, only to learn they've been brought together for a reason. All right, Lisa, you're up first.
Okay. It felt like a really long, tedious X-Files episode. And I understand that everyone loves Sarah Paxton, and while I understand it, I simply cannot get onto that bandwagon. And I don't know who was the boss of her hair for a few years, but I hope she fired them.
Oh, man, yeah, her hair in this movie's bad. I don't normally comment on that kind of stuff, but it is.
No, it's atrocious, and it was in The Innkeepers as well. Like, I can't help but wonder she did this after the Innkeepers and she was growing out. Anyway, there's a twist to it that I personally figured out within a half hour, so I didn't care for the rest of the movie what was going on.
See, I had so convinced myself that it was one thing that I didn't even bother looking for anything else. I convinced myself that these strangers were in purgatory and they were trying to work out their bullshit before they went wherever they went. And I was kind of annoyed. I'm like, oh my God, what am I watching? Like, have I got sucked into some evangelical movie that I'm going to be really resentful that I watched? But then when it ended up being something entirely different, I think that's what made me actually like it, is that I think it was my own mindset that I had so convinced myself it was the purgatory thing. When it ended up being something entirely different, it actually entertained me. But like you said, it does feel like a very long X-Files episode, and there is a lot in there that doesn't need to be. Like when the German officer showed up from World War II, I was like, no, wait a minute, this is ridiculous.
No, that was dumb. I'm not usually this on top of life, but it was, I don't know, it was really quick how they put those clues out there with, like, the lighter, or how he referred to a jacket as a vintage ski jacket, and no one had a phone, and no one was looking for a cell phone. There was just a lot of things to me that immediately indicated what was going to happen. So when they finally figured it out, I thought, oh, you guys are a bunch of idiots.
There was also a good chance that I had watched Found right before this, so maybe I was in a forgiving mood, and I just wanted to watch something that didn't make me feel like I was going to die.
Right, well, then this was like Oscar winning.
Exactly, and Scott Eastwood is, in fact, very pretty to look at.
He looks very much like his father.
He does. He does. You can't argue with that. He is. I will not be seeing his Nicholas Sparks movie, but he is an attractive man. I will give him that much. It was just, it's, if you like those kind of twisty sci-fi movies, I mean, it's not fantastic, but for me, there are worse ways to kill an hour and a half. And after watching Found, anything would have been okay, I guess.
I did like the way this looked. I liked the muted coloring, and I liked there was always noise in the background that kind of kept you on a certain level of being tense.
Yeah, it is really beautifully shot, and I always enjoy movies that are very focused in one spot, and I felt like much of this movie was very tensely organized, or set around this one kind of cabin in the woods situation. But I did hate the end. I will totally admit that. Like, the very end, hated it, despised it. I thought the ending was a really cheap cop-out.
Oh, goodness gracious, I almost forgot about that. That was the worst.
Yeah. So if anybody watches this on my recommendation, I am warning you that the ending is absolutely awful. So, and they never explain, semi-spoiler, avert your ears if you want to watch this movie and don't want spoilers. What the fuck happened to Scott Eastwood?
Well,
Was he just never born?
Yeah, see, I clearly checked out.
Yeah. Like, he just disappears by the end of the movie, and the way they wrap up the movie in the nice little bow, it completely eliminates one of the characters. And I was like, wait, what? What did you just do? Did we just get tired of writing the script? Like, were we bored? Okay, fine. I don't know. The ending really did bother me. But up to that point, had there been a better ending, I did actually enjoy it. So, Lisa, your knife on this one?
Oh, down, honey, down.
Yeah, I suspected. I give it a knife up if you have nothing better to watch and you've just watched something that makes you want to slit your wrists. This one will make you feel a little bit better. Only slightly.
But glowing review.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry if you hear nervous licking. That would be my dog panicking over a storm. Okay, so thank you, Darklings, for joining us for episode 5 of the Silver Screen Scarehouse. If you'd like to chat with us about any of the movies we reviewed today, you can find me on Twitter at Linnie Loohoo, LINNIELOOWHO, and you can find Lisa on Twitter.
I'm at LCFREMONT.
And if you have a movie you'd like us to queue up in the Scarehouse, drop us a comment below or let us know on Twitter. stay stabby, kids.